Mr. Zipse, thank you so much for speaking to Bloomberg TV this morning. It's a huge day, of course, for you. What's the impact the war in Ukraine will have on your operations and on automakers?
Well, today, as you say, is a great day for us. We had a great year in 2021, and now we have, as you ask, with the problem with the Ukraine. The first thing and most important thing, we need to help wherever we can. As a first measure, we spend 1 million euros to UNICEF, but that is only the start of our support to the humanitarian crisis we see in the Ukraine. The second point is we have to secure our operations, specifically for the wire harness. As you know, our plants here in Munich and Dingolfing has been standing idle this week. They will, albeit, continue next week already. And so we try to mitigate the direct effects from the supply chain. But we're optimistic that in the short and midterm, we can mitigate that. And the third point, equally important, is that we continue to implement our long-term strategy towards climate neutrality, to ramp up electromobility and the digitalization of our vehicle fleet.
Mr. Zipse, you talk about mitigating some of the component shortages. How do you do that?
Well, first of all, we don't have a single source really from our wire harnesses in the western part of the Ukraine. And since we do not have that single source, we are able to relocate some of the components we have there. And as I said before, we will be able to ramp up the two plants who have been standing idle. And moreover, our US operations and our Chinese operations have never been affected so far. And so I think we will be able to cope with the current situation.
Mr. Zipse, I think you've had to also shut down a number of plants because of these supply shortages of cable components. How likely is it that you'll have to do it again?
You know, it's very difficult to foresee what is happening. As you know, every day something else is happening. So to make a forecast for the next couple of weeks is really difficult. But on the other hand, you know, production systems are very flexible and they react very dynamically to changing situations. And we will have to try to cope with that. To have a real forecast is very difficult. On the other hand, on the 2022 outlook overall, we foresee, as it is current, to be on the same level on sales than in the past year. You know, that's our current thing.
Yeah.
On the profit side, we will have an EBIT of 7 to 9%. And but for other reasons, the pre-tax profit will be significantly higher this year compared to last year.
Yeah. And I understand the situation is extremely difficult to forecast, but is the risk to the upside? Is it likely or very likely that you'll have to idle some of the production because of the ongoing situation?
Look, production is currently influenced by various factors. We still have the semiconductor issue, which is continuing, and it will continue during at least the first half of this year. Then we have, on specific sites, we also have the corona pandemic affecting one or the other operation. And then on a third spot, we have the discussion we just had before. So as a matter of fact, the further impacts we foresee today is part of our outlook, which I just said, that we will be on the sales side about the level of last year.
How much of a headwind are some of these very high raw material prices?
You know, BMW has a hedging strategy on electricity, on gas prices, and also on other components we have. So in the short term, there's not a big influence. Now, in the long term, we have to see where they really develop. As you see, we have spikes today. We're not so much affected because most resources we have hedged so far. And the rest we will have to see. And what is very important, that we try to use secondary material in the mid and long term to reduce the impact of the raw material prices on our business. That is why a circular industry is really a strategic issue for BMW.
We had some pretty crazy moves on nickel in the last 2 weeks. Is there part of the raw material story where you see a real supply crunch?
Well, as I said before, that is one of the materials we are currently hedged, and we have a very close look on all the raw materials on a daily basis: palladium, nickel, lithium. And what is very important that on the nickel side specifically, the secondary use of material is very high already, and we will try to increase that by the day to influence the impact on our business.
How much are you expecting to change your outlook, given the higher, raw material prices, given some of the disruption that we're seeing in terms of the cable components, semiconductors? It's such a fluid situation. Or are you going to have to revise your outlook?
That is already part of our outlook. So especially on the semiconductor side, what we can see today, there are some effects, but of course that is already part of our outlook. We very intensively looked at. So that's already part of that.
But does it mean that your outlook is, I don't know if it's more uncertain, but certainly the range of outlook is going to be broader given all these uncertainties? And what kind of probability do you attach to things getting worse from here?
Well, what we did, you know that our long-term target on the EBIT side is somewhere between 8 and 10%, and we had already an adjustment made here. It will be 7 to 9%, so that already includes that impact.
Mr. Zipse, VW, of course, is weighing an IPO of Porsche. If you look at what Ford is doing, is trying to split the EV business to the combustion engine. What are your plans to stay at top? I don't know, how can you unlock value from this point?
You know, if you look at the past year, we had a successful business year, and one of the cornerstones is technological openness first and technological flexibility. Look at the cars which come to the market. They come with either drivetrain. The 7 Series, for example, will come as an i7, fully electric, and at the same time, it will also have hybrid drivetrains or combustion engine drivetrains. And that is our strategy, to be fully flexible, to provide superior product, and at the same time, that is a transformation inside of technology, and it will be a multitude of technologies, and we will not change our business model here. The contrary is true. Because the world is changing so quickly, a technological, open, flexible approach is exactly the right thing to do.
And do you think shareholders understand that? Does it make not more sense to spin something off or IPO something to unlock value, just so that shareholders understand exactly what the story is?
The automotive business is a system integration business. We don't think it's necessary. And for BMW, and I can only speak for BMW, it would not be the right approach. And to invest in our business model, as we stated this morning, we will also propose a buyback share program because we think it's a great investment into our own business.
Mr. Zipse, danke schön.
Sehr gerne. Have a good day.